It is Halloween 2025 and the kids are out trick-or-treating in a parking lot and the adults are out somewhere getting drunk. I am here, as always, painting and reviewing horror movies for an audience of 20 people. And if that's not spooky, I don't know what is. Welcome to Painting Shadows. Hello everyone, Marcos here, and I've been rejected enough, thank you. Before I start, I want to mention that the channel has just surpassed over 100 hours of watch time, and I know in the scheme of things that is not very much, but as a guy who's just in his small apartment painting, it means something to me. What it means, I don't know exactly, but it means something. I'll figure that out at some point. VHS Halloween is the latest entry in the found footage juggernaut franchise VHS. While I'm not the biggest fan of found footage or anthology films, I have for the most part enjoyed every VHS entry. I wouldn't rank them among my favorite horror movies, but I do find them to be quick and easy watches that lend themselves to repeat viewings, with the exception of VHS Viral. That one is pretty bad. I'm going to quickly run down each segment of this film and rate it on how Halloweeny they are. Let's start. As with all VHS films, Halloween opens up with a wraparound segment. We were seeing footage of a focus group testing out a new product called Diet Phantasma. What makes Diet Phantasma a fresh and exciting product, you may ask? Well, it has fleshy tendrils that shoot out of the can and kills its consumer. This does not appear to be the desired effect, as the leader of the focus group asked the scientists to rework the formula. We return to the wraparound between each segment and we see the Diet Phantasma kill its testers in various ways. Diet Phantasma does set the tone for this movie, as most of the segments are comedic in nature. And although it did give me a couple of chuckles, I didn't really like this wraparound segment overall, and the conclusion left me feeling a bit dissatisfied. I didn't really understand what it was trying to accomplish other than getting a few cheap laughs. I think I prefer a wraparound that feeds into the other segments a bit more, but the series has kind of gotten away from that and has begun to favor the wraparound being a single unconnected story. It didn't flow in a way that felt like it justified being a wraparound. They could have just edited each part of the wraparound together and it wouldn't have seemed like it was lacking in any way. And maybe the worst offense of all is that it felt completely unrelated to the theme of Halloween. Overall, this wraparound segment was a big miss. So I have the underpainting for Mr. Fun Size finished here. It went relatively quickly, only took about 10 minutes. In this case, I don't need a lot of detail. Mr. Fun Size is mostly big shapes and bright colors, so a lot of that will come through once I start putting down the colored paint. Let's get back into it. The first full segment is called Coochie Coochie Coo, and it follows a pair of soon-to-be college students trick-or-treating for the very last time. They stumble upon a large house that seems to be ignored by the other trick-or-treaters, and for good reason. It has a tall, scary woman who captures people in it. While the characters have to take a couple of leaps of logic to get pulled through this house of horrors, once they're in, this is a fun and weird segment. The mommy is genuinely creepy and provides perhaps the most unsettling moment in the entire film, and the babies have a freaky uncanny valley look to them that I enjoyed quite a lot. I love when artists exploit that deeply ingrained fear of the slightly skewed human form. It is one of my favorite sources of horror. The segment does have comedic elements. Our characters are a little stupid, but it does justify it in the story. It's gross, it's fun, it's a little spooky, it's a solid segment overall. The second segment starts with a Spanish voiceover with footage of a crime scene. We learn that a young man has been arrested for the murder of his friends during a Halloween party. The investigators rightly question how the young assailant was able to kill several partygoers by crushing their bones and removing their eyeballs. The police take the suspect back to the scene of the crime to retrace his steps because his memory is a bit hazy, which is not a practice I've ever heard of, but they do a decent job at justifying it. They are eventually led into a creepy room with a rotary phone on a pedestal and the words "Ut supra sic infra" written upside down on a wall. This is one of the serious segments in the film, and I think it is effective. It is a little slow, but I was drawn in by the mystery, and I think the payoff was worthwhile. It does seem a bit drab and overly serious in an anthology of mostly silly segments, but I appreciate that the filmmakers and cast put in effort to make a short film that is supposed to be taken seriously. This was another good segment in my book. In this third segment, we get yet another group of people that are too old to be trick-or-treating. However, they're far more unlikable than the people in the first segment. This group of obnoxious 20-somethings stumble across a candy bowl that is labeled one per person. And maybe it's the Minnesotan in me, but when I saw a sign like that as a kid, I respected it. Anyway, these idiots take more than one piece of candy and get sucked into the Shadow Realm, which after saying that sounds a lot more fun than I intended. The group is transported into a mostly empty warehouse, which appears to be where this strange candy is being manufactured, and creepy hijinks ensue which feature the subject of my painting, Mr. Fun Size. This segment looks cheaply made and slapped together, which sounds bad, but honestly I didn't really mind that aspect of it. My issue is that it doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere, and because of that, you're not really invested in what's happening. They attempt to add some depth to the story by having a couple of characters in an asymmetrical relationship, where one person wants to get married and the other is too afraid to break things off. This aspect seems tacked on on, and the payoff is pretty shallow. While this segment had a couple of fun and gross moments, it's not as effective as the other, and it seems scattershot and thrown together. That said, I do think Mr. Funsize was a fun character, and I like his design and his assistant. They had something decent here, but it didn't come completely together for me. So now I'm about at the stage where I have most of the colors down. You can mostly get the forms together. You can kind of see some of the highlights coming through and some of the darker areas going back. It's not quite done yet. I just need to go through the refinement stage, and then I think we will be good. In the fourth segment, Kidprint, there's been a string of kidnappings in a small town that inspires a video store to offer a service to parents that help them document their children's height, weight, and what they looked like recently. This segment has the strongest sense of setting, where it does feel like it's being recorded in the early 90s. Considering that home video is new in this era, the video store owner is recording his day-to-day experiences. It feels like a bit of a downer because most segments are silly and have supernatural elements to it, whereas Kidprint plays it completely straight. It's a bit of a whiplash in terms of tone, but I welcome it because it feels like some consideration went into the making of it, and the filmmakers really put themselves out there by presenting an idea seriously without a cartoon killer or a hint of irony. This segment did have a bit of a non-twist where the serial killer turned out to be the most obvious suspect. I thought that there would be some sort of fake out, but no, the guy you think is the killer was the killer, and I faked myself out. This segment was sufficiently creepy and visually consistent, and the actors didn't feel like actors, which drew you into the mystery a lot more. I think it was a good segment overall. The fifth and final segment features a father and son building a haunted house in their yard. While I do like the home video feel, the actors do feel more actory. That's not to say that the actors are bad, they just don't have that natural feel that the previous segment did. The story skips ahead a little bit, and the son is now a teenager, and like a teenager, the son is a bit insecure about the silly haunted house his dad is building. The mom convinces the son to indulge his dad one last time in helping him run his haunted house. The pair go to an antique store to find spooky items to add to their display. They find a pretty cool looking record of spooky sound effects to play at their gathering. Well, this record has a way of making inanimate objects come to life, and when played in a haunted house filled with spooky, scary skeletons, ghastly ghosts, and wretched witches, they get a little bit more than what they bargained for. Before the ghouls come to life, we see an older gentleman in line that talks about how bad the effects are, and in a proud moment, I was able to identify that that man was horror special effects master Rick Baker. My years of watching behind-the-scenes documentaries and having no social life culminated in that moment. At that moment, I could have died. I wouldn't have died happy, but I could have died technically, because technically, you could die at any moment. So cherish the things in life that really matter, like when you recognize guys that do special effects in movies. The humor comes from the absurdity of the situation, while the characters are rightfully horrified by what they're experiencing. I can also relate to the father-son dynamic. My son is nearing that stage of teendom where his dad doesn't seem as cool as he used to, and he is getting more into his own things. So it plays on my heartstrings a little bit more than it would otherwise. The idea of a haunted house coming to life is a fun scenario, and they give the viewers exactly what they would want in that situation. This is an example of a segment that presents a fun idea that takes itself seriously and has an emotional core that works. It succeeds where Funsize fails. And that concludes my review of VHS Halloween. This is one of the more consistent films in the series. Although I thought Funsize was a weak segment, I didn't hate it, and it didn't overstay its welcome, which I can't say about lesser segments in the series. Its greatest weakness is its wraparound segment, and the fact that it didn't have a truly great segment that transcended the rest of them. There's not a segment here that stands out with the best, in my opinion, like Safe Haven and Terror, but it was by no means bad. VHS Halloween gets a silver medal. It's a solid watch that I can see finding its way into people's yearly Halloween watch rotation. Here's a look at my final painting of Mr. Funsize. Please consider liking my video and subscribing to my channel. Let me know in the comments what you thought of my painting, what you thought of VHS Halloween. What is your favorite VHS segment? Should I do a video where I rank all the segments? I've seen them all. I would also like to talk about my problem with the VHS format, which seemed like too big of a topic to talk about in this video. Anyway, that's the video for today. You can leave now.